Welcome to Tales from the Switch Vault, where I, jimjimjim, look back at some of the weird and wonderful games from the Nintendo Switch. This time, I roll the dice in Citizen Sleeper. Initially released in May 2022 onto Xbox, PC and Switch before coming to PlayStation in March 2023, the creation from Jump Over the Age, a solo dev indie studio helmed by Gareth Damian Martin and published by Fellow Traveller Games. The critically acclaimed dice-rolling RPG brought a fresh take into the genre and won a lot of plaudits. Another great indie title that really stands out compared to pretty much any other on Nintendo Switch. The game has you play as a sleeper, a robot that has been implanted with the human's mind who wakes up on a space station and must attempt to survive. Exploring the vessel will allow you to meet fellow people and be given tasks or jobs to earn money known as cryo. This is essential as you not only have to eat to stave off starvation, you require a stabilizer to keep you alive. Both tick down after each day, or in the game's parlance, a cycle. Actions are completed using dice, which are cast at the beginning of each cycle. If you are well fed and stable, you will have access to all 5, but this will drop as your condition deteriorates. It's a tricky balance to start with, ensuring you have enough dice to do actions, which earn money and allow you to survive for another cycle. Higher rolls are far better, as using low numbers can give you negative effects such as losing condition. These limitations strongly encourage experimentation, and in my experience cured my choice paralysis. You only have up to 5 dice, so you have to lean into one objective if you wish to complete it within a reasonable time. Often you'll be racing against a deadline. There are player stats, giving you a boost or a negative into certain action types, helping or hindering your actions. I really enjoyed this mechanic. There's a lot of strategy and planning that goes into it. Limiting your options also means you have to lean into something, forcing the player to step forward confidently with their choices. Here is where the impeccable writing steps in. Amazing world building and rich, deep characters that I quickly empathise with. It gives me Blade Runner vibes, but with a chance to see much more of the world and its people. Not much of the space station, otherwise known as the Eye, is available to start with, so exploration and finding people is key at the start. However, all your actions have consequences and it's a hell of a ride. Visually, the character designs are some of the best, absolutely beautiful works of art. Sure, they're just images, but the exquisite details really aid the writing in making them feel real. All the characters have different backstories and are covered in items you expect from survivors deep in space. A nice touch is each one stares directly at you. The space station itself is well designed, grey and static as you'd expect. The menus are really well laid out. I'm a big fan of the font style. Also, shouts out to the dice. The hexagonal design is excellent and used in the loading screens as well as the actual items for actions. It looks great and I adore the black hot pink aesthetic. I don't know what it is with the games I look into for this video series, but they either fall into 2 camps. Either the music is jaw-droppingly good or barely noticeable. Sadly, Citizen Sleeper falls into the latter. It's not bad, far from it, but I was just so focused on reading and planning out my actions I barely noticed it. One dip into Spotify later and the soundtrack is great, a sci-fi electronic mashup, created by Amos Roddy, who has a stellar history of working on, among other things, the Wild at Heart and the Kingdom series. Great artist. What really hooked me into this title is the writing. It's outstanding. I've never really been a visual novel person, but here they managed to keep it snappy and direct, even without voice acting. It's immediately engrossing, the story having you figure out what the hell is going on. I suppose my pessimistic nature was a drawback when playing this. I just expected to die in a few cycles, and that would be that, but the game is far too clever just to end you that way. So many twists and turns, giving you choices that will either come back to haunt or help you. This game is so sure of itself, it leans all in. That's what a single writer can bring, believable and deep sci-fi dialogue that you just want more of. It really feels like a great book that you just can't put down. In general media, I feel that the TV series Lost was the worst offender for all questions and no answers. This game is the opposite, with most loose ends getting tied up. I love the surprises, such as an old friend popping up when you least expect it. Betrayal, trust, hope, despair, it has the full gamut. It's great to see the industry come back around to cards and dice. Once seen as ancient and unlikable, hidden away, now they are at the forefront. They've been given a new lease of life thanks to games like Baldur's Gate 3. The twist here is you're given the roles at the start of the cycle and then must choose how to use them. It's a great touch, giving more agency to the player. It deepens the risk-reward depending on how and if you use, say, a 4. Even low rolls are incredibly useful, basically a way for me to make a living during my playthrough. Add in the player upgrades, such as being able to re-roll once per day, and you can become pretty powerful later on, allowing you to side through tasks and push the stories you might not have been able to. Early game is tough though. I still feel really bad about the father and daughter I failed to help. I still don't know what happened to them. There are multiple characters to play off that lean into different strengths, meaning a high replayability to this game. For the most part, this will give you different choices and actions, giving you a pretty different playthrough. Saying that, you probably will still need to make different critical choices along the way, but the lure of multiple endings will draw me back in. On top of all of that, the game received 3 free DLCs, which you love to see. This added more endgame story and heavily tied it all back into your actions. It's well worth going back to if you're not already, has the strongest writing yet in this game. At about 7 or so hours long, it makes a great before bed type of game. Citizen Sleeper was the second game from Gareth Damian Martin, the first being In Other Waters. In it, you play a xenobiologist who lands on an alien planet and must never get around to gather data and survive. I actually played this a few years ago and enjoyed my time with it, though I did bounce off it quite quickly. Now I have to go back and see how good it is. More importantly, Jump Over the AH will have now released Citizen Sleeper 2, and I for one will be picking this up immediately. Building on the first game, hopefully it will be even better. This will be the last Citizen Sleeper game though. The title was nominated for Game for Impact at the Game Awards and multiple ones at the BAFTAs, but won Social Impact Award at the Game Developers Choice Awards. It reviewed ridiculously well, making a bunch of top 10 lists for 2022. I actually think it's one of the best indie games on Switch. Oh, but what to even compare this game with? It's been a year since anything hooked me this badly, and I'm a fool for not diving in far earlier. I do have some minor issues though, which I suspect might just be in the Switch edition. There is long loading time just getting into your save, and notable lag when navigating around the ship. Both are more than bearable, but it is jarring considering just how smooth everything else is. Also, the hidden nodes you can exploit, spoilers, have an issue whereby you can't highlight them even though they are selectable and usually the only thing on screen. You can hit X twice to fix it, but it's just strange. In my opinion, it's an absolute must play, and a game that really sticks with me. I keep thinking about it long after the hit in the credits. Whether it was the Bounty Hunter questline or just hearing the backstory of an evil megacorp, it all just hit the right spots for me. I don't usually implore people to play things in this series, but I'm willing to make an exception here. It's utterly brilliant, and if it sounds your jam, go for it. Oh, and for the record, I did survive.